FM News Talk 97.1.
On demand audio.
I was telling you earlier about VP Joe Biden, who is meeting with representatives from Hollywood and representatives with the gaming industry to discuss violence in video games, and also gun control. The Hill has a piece right now how he's meeting with the NRA today and several other groups to talk about gun control, so on and so forth. And this whole, and it's smart, why not? If that's your agenda that you're wanting to get out, meet with Hollywood then, by all means. But that's something that they are currently working on, and they want to bring Hollywood in on it. I'm not quite sure how open the entertainment community is going to be to gun control from the administration, considering how much bank Hollywood makes off of movies anyway. I don't believe in violent movies. I don't think movies can be violent. That's just people. I watched violent movies and all kinds of stuff, but I was raised with a respect for life, and I realized, you can't undo a pulled trigger. It's odd. To get some perspective on this, a good friend of ours, Ken Wahl, everybody knows Ken Wahl. He was in Wise Guy. Just go to IMDb, just Google him, and he'll come up. And he's not just an actor. He's a conservative actor in Hollywood, which is, a lot of people don't have, to be frank, the brass to come out and be open and honest with their political ideology. But Ken does, and he does so without varnish. And we're happy to have him on the show today. Ken, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. Without varnish.
I love it. Now, what do you make? I want to get your opinion on this because, we were talking about it's gun control mania right now, and we're talking about the vice president, Joe Biden. He's meeting with representatives from the entertainment community. He's meeting with representatives from the gaming industry. Right. And I don't know how Hollywood is going to receive what he's wanting to do. He wants to bring them in and help make gun control look attractive, but they make a lot of bank off of that. So I'm not quite sure. What is your perspective on this?
My perspective is that they'll listen to what they have to say. Everybody will pat each other on the back and smile at each other, and then in a couple of weeks it'll all be forgotten. This is what happens. This is all for optics.
Right.
Because Hollywood supports Obama. Hollywood makes a lot of money. Hollywood gave Obama a lot of money. He's not going to mess with them. And Hollywood, as you said, they make a lot of money off of violent films and, to another degree, the video game industry.
Yeah.
They're not going to do anything differently.
No,
this is just all for show.
And I would think that even in compromising with that, you mentioned that Hollywood, they're huge supporters of this administration. The president and vice president, they don't want to lose that support. I mean, that's
of course not.
Yeah. They don't want to risk that. So I can't. You're right. I mean, this it comes down to optics. But they do use Hollywood in other ways. They have them help craft their messaging for the campaign, so on and so forth. And Ken, I wish, and this has been such a huge ongoing discussion, and I want to pull my hair out over it. I so wish that more people who are of the conservative bent, especially in D.C., would reach out to those who do this who do this daily, who are experts on this, who get narratives, who get optics, who, they create fantasy in Hollywood. I wish that they would reach out to these people and have them help their campaigns and agendas the way that the left does. And they don't. How frustrating is that to you?
Well, it's not. Really, because I expect it. No, it's just the nature of the beast. And it has been that way since after World War II, when you had the McCarthy hearings and all that during the 50s. That's when Hollywood turned sharp left. Because if you remember before that, if you ever seen old movies and old newsreels of how Hollywood used to stump for buying war bonds and things like that during World War II, which is, they were very much behind the military. And to that degree, they were very conservative. And then after the communist witch hunts in the 50s, they turned sharply left and have been there ever since. And it's, living in the real world, that's just not going to change. It's going to be that way for the foreseeable future that I can see. So I didn't find it frustrating because when I got into the business as a teenager, I had already heard about that, and I knew that's the way it was going to be. So that's the way it is.
Have you found that has it gotten easier for you, or when you decided when did you really first start coming out with your political views? Because not a lot of people do that in Hollywood.
No. Just recently, before this re-election, basically.
Wow. And
that's not because I was afraid, because in conversations with people that I worked with within the industry, I always was out. It's never like I was a closeted conservative.
Right.
But I never really went public. I was very happy being a private person.
Right.
But I felt compelled to talk about these things publicly to anybody that cared to listen, because I just think that the country is on such a treacherous path.
Yeah.
So I got to do something. So I'm going to get out there and start blabbing about there's another side to it. And if somebody wants to listen to it, fine. If not, well, then at least I tried. But I really think that we're on a very precarious path.
Oh, absolutely. It's scary that not enough people can remember what they were taught about history, or even those who've lived through such periods. They can't compare what happened then to what happened now, what's happening right now, and see the exact path that we're on.
And I think there's a reason for that. I think that a lot of people are spoiled in the sense that when one is born in freedom, it's easy to take it for granted.
Right.
Because you know no other way.
Right.
And people don't understand how tenuous freedom is. And that if that freedom can be taken away, and it doesn't get taken away in one fell swoop. It's chipped away little by little. And that's what they're doing. Like, for instance, in New York City, where Bloomberg says, well, you can't have a 20-ounce soda, because it's bad for you. And I say it's not the government's job to protect us from ourselves.
Right.
If I want to buy a 500-ounce soda, that's my business, not yours. Yeah. But and that seems like such a minor thing that we're putting restrictions on the size of the soda you can drink. But that's where it starts. The problem is, where does it end? Because then next it'll be, well, you can't use forks because there's pointy ends on it, so you can only use spoons. And then they'll say, well, statistics show that more crime is committed between the hours of 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. and 3 a.m. So you know what? We're going to impose a curfew. Nobody can go out after 9 o'clock. Well, we're just protecting you. So don't feel bad. We're the nice big government, and we want to protect everything that happens to you. We want to make sure that nothing bad happens to you. And that's why I'm saying that we're on this path that is leading this way. And it's not only sad, it's dangerous, because where does it end?
Exactly.
And that's why we have to remain vigilant in combating this.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the idea of a 500-ounce soda. It's our business, not theirs.
I would make a fortune on that if I came up.
You would? Oh man, I would love it. But that's it. And you hit the nail on the head, because it's always under the guise of we're the government, we're here to help.
Right.
We're concerned for you.
Right. And that's what makes it so insidious.
Right.
And on the surface, one might think, oh, well, that's nice. The government wants to protect me. They don't see the part of it, well, it's your freedom being chipped away at little by little.
Right.
And then by the time we realize it, it's too late.
Yeah, and you see this, too, when you look at the exit polling from the last election, and you see it was essentially the promises of free stuff. It was free stuff versus freedom last time around.
I call it the food stamp election. Really was, because it's 47 million people on food stamps? Yeah,
that's quite a lot.
And he got 51 million and change votes?
Yep.
47 million of those on food stamps. How many of those of that 47 million do you think voted for Romney?
Right.
So there you go right there. So yes, it's free stuff versus freedom, as you said.
It seems to be that the task before those of us who are for limited government, more personal responsibility, it seems as though our task is to convince other people that, look, if you want true empowerment, don't settle for just a measly allowance from the government in exchange for some of your soul, which is basically what it is.
Yes.
You have so much more potential on your own, and but there's hard work that goes into that. It's making that attractive to people. And that used to be attractive. That was appealing. That's what lured people to the United States to begin with. And now it's been changed. We have to make that attractive again.
Yeah,
and that's a pretty big deal.
There's been a steady decline. My theory is that ever since Kennedy was assassinated, and it didn't matter whether you liked Kennedy or not, but there was a cynicism that crept into the American public. So many people thought that it was a conspiracy, this and that. And then after the Kennedy assassination, you had the escalation of the Vietnam War. Now, all the people that were students during the Vietnam War, well, they are the teachers and the professors and the leaders of today. And they have been for quite a while now. So this is where you've got this incredible influx of this left-leaning philosophy. And that has all started since November of 1963, which will be 50 years this year, and it continues to this day.
We have a big job ahead of us, and Ken, I'm so glad that you're on our side in this fight. We would love to have you back. As often as you want to come on, you're always welcome on this program.
Absolutely appreciate that.
It's good to talk with you. We'll talk to you again, my friend.
Can I ask you one thing
of course.
before I go?
Absolutely.
What caused you to be conservative?
Ooh, two things. I had sons, and I realized I couldn't be a navel-gazing, selfish feminist, and 9/11. Yeah.
But were you liberal before that?
Oh, yeah. My whole family was. My whole family was. Yeah. I'm the black sheep now.
Wow.
I converted my mom, though. So there's one.
That's amazing, because everybody I've talked to since I've started being more vocal is a conservative by conversion.
Yep.
Didn't start out that way. Where I started out that way, I was from the get-go.
Oh,
because
wow.
I grew up in Chicago, okay?
Oh, I see you, yeah.
And Chicago, as we all know, is one of the most corrupt cities in the world, let alone America.
Mm-hmm.
And so growing up, I saw these things, and it just didn't make sense to me, all this liberal claptrap.
Yeah.
So I was from the get-go. But I have not yet met a person in these rounds that was a conservative from the get-go. They've always, one of the guys I've talked to, another actor who's now conservative, said a very prescient thing where he said that when I went to college, I was the default mode liberal. And to me, that made a lot of sense, that once you go to college, you're automatically a liberal by default.
Yeah.
And that made a lot of sense.
It does. I'm always in awe of people who have known from the very beginning what sense is.
Oh, good. Well,
I really
I'll
am.
take that as a compliment.
I very much so. I always admire people like that, because I had to basically remove head from backside and get a little bit more knowledgeable and grow up, and that's how I became a conservative.
But that's to be admired as well. I mean, I think it was actually easy for me, just from my own observations in my life, that I was conservative from the get. And even I didn't even call myself conservative. I just always called myself independent.
Right.
But for a person like yourself and all these other people that I've talked to, for you to change, to do a 180, I think is much more difficult. So my hat's off to you.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. Ken, I'd love to actually meet you in person sometime. And like I said, the door's always open. Thank you, my friend.
Where are you located, in St. Louis?
Yeah, St. Louis.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well,
we'll meet up sometime. Yes.
I love flyover country, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you saw that in my article, but I was defending flyover country to the
Flyover
rest
country
of Hollywood.
loves you.
Okay, great.
Take care. We'll talk again soon.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Ken Wahl, everybody. He's on Twitter at Ken Wahl 1, number 1, as if there would be a number 2.